The first thing she noticed about me wasn't my dress. It wasn't my shoes. It wasn't even the fact that I was standing alone at one of the most exclusive charity galas in Manhattan. It was my ring. The ballroom glittered with crystal chandeliers and old money confidence. Waiters floated by with silver trays of champagne. The event was hosted at the Whitmore Grand, a place where power dressed in tuxedos and diamonds. I didn't belong there, at least not by their standards. I wore a simple navy gown I'd found on clearance. My hair was pinned back neatly, and on my left hand sat a modest gold ring, small diamond, vintage setting, slightly worn edges. It had been my mother. "Is that real?" a voice asked sharply. I turned to see her, tall, poised, draped in a designer gown that probably cost more than my annual rent. Her diamond necklace sparkled like it had its own spotlight. I recognized her immediately. Vanessa Carlyle, daughter of the company's vice president, practically royalty in corporate circles. She didn't wait for my answer. "I mean," she continued, lifting her champagne glass with a smirk, "it looks sentimental." A few nearby guests chuckled softly. "It is sentimental," I said calmly. She tilted her head. "That's one word for it." My cheeks burned, but I refused to look down at my hand. That ring wasn't flashy, it wasn't large, but it carried 30 years of my parents' marriage. It had survived cancer treatments, late bills, and nights when love was the only thing they had left. It wasn't small. It was strong. Vanessa leaned closer. "You know, events like this attract investors. Appearances matter." "I'm aware," I replied. "Good," she smiled, "because some of us represent the company's future." There it was. The reminder. I wasn't from her world. I was just a mid-level financial analyst who had somehow earned a last-minute invitation after my department exceeded quarterly projections. I came because my boss said it would be good exposure. I didn't realize I'd be the exposure. The conversation shifted as someone approached Vanessa. She greeted him with polished charm. I stepped aside, heart pounding, considering leaving. But then the room changed. Not physically. Energetically. The murmurs shifted direction. Heads turned toward the entrance. And that's when he walked in. Alexander Roth. Even if you didn't follow business news, you knew the name. Billionaire investor, tech magnate, the man who could buy and sell companies before breakfast. He wasn't supposed to attend, at least that's what the rumors had said. Yet there he was, tailored black suit, quiet confidence, eyes that seemed to assess everything in seconds. Vanessa straightened immediately. Her father hurried across the room to greet him. I watched from the edge, grateful the attention had moved away from me. Until Alexander's gaze shifted and landed directly on me. For a second, I thought I was imagining it. But then he excused himself from the VP and began walking in my direction. My pulse spiked. He stopped a few feet away, studying my face. Then his eyes dropped to my hand. To the ring. His expression changed. Not amusement. Not judgment. Recognition. "Where did you get that?" he asked quietly. The room around us seemed to still. "It was my mother," I answered carefully. He stepped closer. "May I?" Confused, I slid the ring off and placed it in his palm. He turned it gently, examining the inner band. Then he exhaled, almost a laugh. "I can't believe it," he murmured. Vanessa had drifted closer, curiosity replacing her earlier arrogance. "What is it?" she asked. Alexander looked up. "This ring," he said, holding it slightly higher, "was designed by my father." A hush fell over the nearby guests. "My father was a jeweler before he built our first tech prototype," he continued. "He handcrafted only 12 pieces in this design, each one engraved inside." My breath caught. He tilted the band so I could see. There, faint but visible, were tiny initials I had never paid attention to. "Yeah. Elias Roth," he said softly. "He made these for couples who couldn't afford luxury but believed in forever." My throat tightened. "My parents didn't have much," I whispered. but they believed in forever. Alexander smiled, not the public, press-ready smile, a real one. My parents were the same. Vanessa shifted uncomfortably. But it's so small, she muttered before catching herself. Alexander turned to her. Yes, he agreed calmly, it is. Then his voice sharpened, not loud, but precise. And yet its value is extraordinary. He handed the ring back to me carefully. To collectors, one of these pieces recently sold for over $200,000. Gasps rippled through the group. Vanessa's face drained of color. But its true worth, he continued, eyes still on mine, is that it represents a time when my father believed love mattered more than status. Silence wrapped around us. The VP cleared his throat awkwardly. Vanessa opened her mouth, then closed it. For the first time since I'd arrived, I wasn't the smallest presence in the room. Alexander extended his hand. You work here? Yes, I managed. In finance. Impressive, he nodded. We value people who understand real worth. He glanced briefly at Vanessa before returning his attention to me. Would you be open to discussing an opportunity? The air felt electric. I saw it then, the shift in power, the reversal. Not because of money, but because of meaning. Vanessa had seen a small stone. Alexander saw history. She had measured value in carats. He measured it in legacy. I'd be honored, I said. He smiled again. Good, and keep wearing the ring. I slid it back onto my finger, suddenly aware of how steady my hands felt. As he walked away, the whispers followed, but they were different now. Curious. Respectful. Vanessa avoided my eyes. I didn't gloat, I didn't smirk. I simply stood there, shoulders straight, understanding something I hadn't before. True wealth doesn't sparkle the loudest. It endures. That night, I didn't just leave with a business card from a billionaire. I left with something far more valuable. Proof that what looks small to the insecure often carries the greatest power. And the ring on my finger. It had never shined brighter.